Hello, friends. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me today. I'm so excited to have Daniel Berdichevsky with me today to talk about his near-death experience. This will be a two-part interview. Today, Daniel is going to share about his profound and in-depth heavenly near-death experience. And tomorrow, we will do the Q&A portion of our interview. A little bit of background on Daniel. Daniel lives in San Diego, California, and he grew up exposed to many different cultures, languages, and religions. Russian born and American raised, ever since he can remember, he's had profound and detailed dreams and mystical experiences, which includes a near-death experience, many out-of-body experiences, UFO sightings, and very profound and vivid dreams that he continues to experience to this day. You are not going to want to miss this near-death experience, as it has many unique aspects to it that I've never heard in any other story. Tomorrow, we will be covering everything from Daniel's religious upbringing and how his near-death experience changed his views on religion, his perspective on Jesus Christ, which I thought was so profound and beautiful. And we'll be touching on a hellish near-death experience that Daniel had and the reason why he feels he had that experience. One more thing before we start, I want to mention Daniel's YouTube channel entitled Dreams and Other Stuff, where he has shared about his mystical experiences. I will link it in the description. Without further ado, here's Daniel. Daniel, thank you so much for being with me today. I'm so honored to have you to share your experience with us.
And I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So if you wouldn't mind, would you like to just share your near-death experience story with us and whatever details you feel led to include?
Certainly. I would have to start the events that led up to the experience because it's important to mention what happened. So I was 19 years old and I was having medical issues. Um, I was having very, very high blood pressure, sometimes like 200 over whatever. So almost emergency room status, and really fast heart rate and palpitations. And I went to a very good doctor, like considered the best or one of the best in my city. So this individual is actually a friend of my mom. So I went to her and did all kinds of tests, this and that, and this and that, and blood tests and everything you can name. And they couldn't figure out what was actually causing the elevated heart rate and blood pressure. So what she did was just put me on blood pressure medication, kind of assumed that it's some kind of stress thing or something. And I started taking it, and for a while it helped. And but then it stopped helping. Even taking the blood pressure medication wouldn't lower my blood pressure. So I went back probably again and again. She put me on different kinds of pills that it is the same thing. They worked for a while and then it stopped. So they did more tests. And the only thing they were able to conclude was that I had like slightly elevated thyroid levels. But other than that, everything was normal. So my mom, being that she is very religious Russian Orthodox, she decided to take me to a monastery, which is something that she does regularly, or she has done regularly in the past. Would people of that faith would visit monasteries? It's a normal thing to do. They would stay in these places for several days at a time. This includes, Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, things like that. So this is all the way. I'm on the Mexican border, and this place was all the way on the Oregon border. And I went there, and still felt, But keep in mind, like this entire time, I wasn't feeling well at all. I had like an intense amount of anxiety. I had pressure in my chest all the time. I had constant migraines. It was really like just an awful place to be. And it didn't change when I was in the monastery. So like the first couple of days, I was just hanging out as trying to do the best I can with the condition I was having. And one day during a morning or afternoon prayer, I returned from one of their prayers, and we had our own separate little tiny rooms that we would sleep in. And I went to go for an afternoon nap, and I laid down, and I was wide awake. I was not sleeping, nothing at all. I just laid down, and then I just find myself like crawling out of my, like a sensation of like something coming out of my chest, or I was trying to leave through my chest. And it almost felt like a crawling sensation. It was really bizarre. And so for a few moments that was taking place. And then I found myself on the ceiling with my arms stretched out like this, looking down at something that I couldn't figure out what it was for what felt like an absolute eternity. Like I knew it was a body. I didn't make a connection that that was my body. Uh, it just didn't compute for some reason. I looked at it. I'm like, what is going on? What is that? And why am I over here looking at that? So I started noticing odd things while I was on the ceiling. I had 360-degree vision. So if I could shift my perception backwards, I could see backwards. And then I shifted through to the prayer room or through where the church was, and I shifted my perception towards where the prayers were taking place. And I was actually able to physically see the monks chanting and praying. And not only was I able to see them, I was able to feel everything they were feeling. I was able to just like it's strange. It's like I was sensing the totality of their being, and I was sensing their intentions as well, and their heart, and just everything. And I was intrigued because I knew that they were really sincere and really like pouring out their heart to God, and that made me feel good to see that. So I kind of shifted back, and then at that point, I realized that that was me laying down on the bed. Finally, that realization hit that it was me. And when that happened, like a split moment later, I always like to describe it as a vacuum cleaner. I just got sucked through the wall and kind of just started flowing. It was not, a lot of people say it was like a tunnel. I suppose it was like a tunnel. It was, and it wasn't like a tunnel simultaneously. So it was like kind of like a wormhole type sensation where I was just shifting upwards and above, like literally physically above the earth. And I was in the sky or probably outer space. And I was looking down at this specific region that I was in. And I saw, the Pacific Northwest basically. And I was looking down really intently and carefully. And I was seeing all these little fires everywhere, like just hundreds of fires, which is absolutely correct. This was in 2007, and that year there was thousands of lightning strikes in Northern California that started hundreds of wildfires. So what I was seeing was actually physically accurate to what was actually happening at that time. So, and it looked so surreal to me. It looked this is one of the things I have so much trouble describing. Like it looked very real, but it also looked like kind of simulator, a game like at the same time. There was something reminiscent of a simulator like quality to what I was looking at. So, and I shifted perspective again. Like, so from the fires, and now I'm looking at a city, and in the city, which I don't recall which one. I'm going to assume it's San Francisco though, because I do remember seeing buildings that had like bay windows and things like that, and lots of like really crowded streets. So when I was looking at the city, I was looking at people walking around, and it was like my consciousness was like entangling, like an octopus or spider, like entangling with multiple people simultaneously. And I was able to sense like everything they were sensing, kind of like I was feeling what the monks were feeling as well. So kind of that sort of thing. And I was able to kind of read these their lives basically kind of. I also kind of knew like the depths of their being at that moment. It's hard to explain, like just basically random strangers, and I'm looking at them, and it's like I know who they are. That's kind of the sense I was feeling. And so I'm kind of shifting around like spider or octopus, because the reason I'm saying that is because I'm feeling like it's simultaneous. Like I don't just focus on one person. I feel like I focused on 50 people at the same time. So then I shifted back into outer space, and I'm further out into space now, like not just in the Pacific Northwest. I'm looking at the whole world, and it's shimmering and it's glistening like in this crystalline like substance. It was really weird. Um, it had I could tell, I'm looking at the earth, and I could tell 100% without a doubt what I was looking at was alive. It was a living being. It was not just some rock. This entity was a very real, powerful being that's living. And I even saw like something that's reminiscent of breaths that were taking place from the earth. Like it's not like breaths, but that's how I felt. Like that's how I can describe it. I don't know how else to describe it. And I was looking at it, and I was also able to sense that this being was in pain. It was suffering. I could literally like almost sense like not screams. I don't know how to explain it, but something that was really making this being uncomfortable and an unpleasant sensation. And on top of that, uh, there was some simulator like quality to it. So it looked like a blend of organic and inorganic material. So I don't know if it was the inorganic material that was making it uncomfortable, or the human presence, or whatever it is. But there was some kind of weird binary type of situation taking place where there's two overlapping realities in this realm that I'm looking at. So I was seeing that, and I extend out further, and it was like a sequence. And now I'm looking at the galaxy, our Milky Way, and it looked very much like images from the Hubble Space Telescope and things like that. And then further out, and I was able to see more galaxies, more space, more stars, and until I ended up being completely enveloped in this white light. And within the white light, there was a golden, beautiful, shimmering, sparkling sun that was God, right? So it was sparkling and giving off this enormous energy. So keep in mind, this entire time, I do sense that I have a body, or I am in form of some kind, until that point where and it felt very physical. This one thing I want people to understand is that when I was on the ceiling, it was very real and tangible. It wasn't dreamlike at all. Like this, not even close to. I'm a very vivid dreamer. I have lucid dreams, and I share them and stuff like that. But this was nothing like anything I've ever had at all. And So when I got immersed in this white substance, and this golden light, my form dissipated and I became just an orb of consciousness. And I distinctly remember me being a blue, dark blue color orb of consciousness. And in this golden light, uh, my existence, my eternal existence became so real and so apparent at that moment. It was like I never left. The place felt so familiar and so real that this experience that I had prior on Earth felt like it happened eons and eons ago. So even though I just arrived in this place, I felt like whatever experience I had here at that moment, being immersed in the golden light, I felt like it was such an insignificant speck of nothingness compared to who I truly am, that I just forgot, basically just didn't care. Like, oh, I was like, duh, this is where I belong. And it was a really beautiful feeling. And the love was something, uh, the way I like to describe it is everything you ever were and everything you ever will be for all eternity is loved unconditionally. So no matter who you are in your eternal existence, that love will never ever change. It will always be the same, and you will always be okay. It was like being held like a baby. Kind of felt like, kind of like a small child. Like this sensation. It was really beautiful. Like it was a waterfall of endless love. A lot of near-death experiences have trouble explaining it because it's hard to explain. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it's super hard to explain that sensation. But so being in that love, I started noticing other orbs or kind of orbs of consciousness that were surrounding me, different colors. I saw kind of yellow, pink, and velvets, purple, different little floating balls of consciousness that were just floating around in this like ethereal realm. And the one approached me that was also blue in color. And I'm like watching this individual, and I know who they are automatically. Like, not only do I know who they are, I've known them for like forever, literally. And people often describe like angelic beings, angels. To me, this felt more like the best friend I've ever known forever. It was like a friendship, like a deep, deep brotherly friendship that I had with this soul that I'm not entirely sure that I know on Earth. I don't think I do. I think I'm familiar with this soul only there, but who knows? And this soul began to show me something that I can only describe as like like a film reel um, that contained within it the entirety of the Earth. So it wasn't. It was not a life review. Um, People ask me that. Well, was it like a life review? I was like, no, because what I was looking at was much bigger than like one individual life or me in separate lives. What I was seeing was like different events and characters being played out throughout history, and all of them taking place simultaneously. There was no separation between what happened in the future or the past or in the present moment, because it was all in this contained in this wheel-like structure that was kind of oscillating and moving every which way, and it was all like right there right now. And I remember seeing specifically like powerful people or people that perceive themselves as being powerful, and how silly and ridiculous they looked to me while thinking they had so much power. And I didn't even know about Carl Sagan's speech when this happened, But years later, I don't know if you ever seen it when he talks about the little blue ball. You know who Carl Sagan is? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's talking about, kings and queens all in this little blue ball, like basically thinking the same thing. They have so much power, but we're all in this little blue ball. And I'm like, oh wow, that reminded me of like what I was seeing in the ethereal realm. So yeah, and it was all kind of like uh I don't know, movie like it was projection, movie, like simulator. I don't know how to explain it, but it was much less than what we truly are. The experience was much more insignificant than the totality of who we were in this ethereal realm, which was much bigger, monumentally bigger. And I was really intrigued. So what I was seeing, and so after I was shown that, my attention went towards the golden light, and I was having a conversation with the golden light, and this powerful, powerful sensation and voice, not really a voice. And I also don't remember exactly what was said. And obviously, I think that was deliberate because since I have such clear, vivid memories of every other detail, um, our conversation, but I do remember feeling frustrated and feeling, like I didn't want to come back, which makes sense. And I didn't. I did not want to come back at all. I was perfectly in the most perfect place that I could possibly be in. Didn't want to be anywhere else forever at that point. Like that's where I wanted to be. And but no, I was sent back, and everything kind of went in reverse, like in the sequence of events, going back, seeing the universe and galaxy again, and that seeing all that again, and then I slammed back into my body, and I woke up gasping for breath. Like one thing I forgot to mention was before I started crawling out of my body, I almost felt like my heart stopped. Like I almost felt like it was my last breath, and when I exited, like I could tell I died, and I could especially tell when I came back, because after I came back, I was so desperate for air and in such a awful place. Like I just knew I died. That's why I call this a near-death experience and not an out-of-body experience, because I've had out-of-body experiences too, and this was death. Like, and I woke. I came to, and I look in the mirror, and I was like pale and really like sweaty, and my skin was really clammy, and it was just a really sick place to be. But I didn't go to a doctor or anything, but over the coming days, the blood pressure and all those issues went away completely. So I was actually healed for whatever it was going on.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience, Daniel. I also think that you do a really good job of putting things into words, and I know how difficult that is.
Yeah, no, it really is, and it still doesn't really do it justice. Honestly, you gotta experience it for
Mhm.
yourself. But I'm not encouraging anyone to go near death, so don't think I'm saying that. But yeah,
Right.
um,
You can have experiences through meditation and other much safer ways. That's what I tell people.
right, yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Are you okay if I ask you a few questions?
Oh, I'm more than okay. Yeah, absolutely.